story of Israel is one without parallel in history. The story of the love of a people for a land, the love of Jews for Israel. There in ancient times, our people was born. And there in modern times, our people was reborn. The day will come when the story of Israel in modern times will speak not just to Jews, but to all who believe in the power of the human spirit as it reaches out to God, as an everlasting symbol of the victory of life over death, hope over despair, because Israel has achieved great things. It's taken a barren land and made it bloom. It's taken an ancient language, the Hebrew of the Bible, and made it speak. It's taken the West's oldest faith and made it young. It's taken a tattered, shattered nation and made it live. Israel is the country whose national anthem, HaTikvah, means hope. Israel is the home of hope. Yom Ha'atzmaut Sameach.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Israel at 70, a proud past, a bright future. I am Ran Regman, and this is Sharon Aponev, and we are co-chairs of tonight's event. If you will indulge me, I ask you to mentally remove yourself from today and step out of time. Some 3,800 years ago, God revealed himself to Abraham and sent him to the land of Israel to establish a nation that will be a light unto other nations. Some 3,300 years ago, Joshua led the Jewish people into Israel, where they established a home for themselves for 1,300 years. Then, in the year 70 of the Common Era, the exile began, and it took nearly 2,000 years for the Jewish people to rebuild their homeland in 1948. And here we sit today, only 70 years later. Let's think about it for 1 second. 2,000 years of no Jewish homeland, and we are witness today to the miraculous rebirth of Israel just 70 years later. If we asked a Jew in Ottawa 100 years ago if they would believe that today we would have a thriving country home to half of the world's Jewish population, whose achievements and global contributions go way beyond its size, that Jew would never believe us. Yet, here we are, a part of history. We have guests here tonight who are a part of this history. You will hear Sara, who was in Israel in 1948, fighting for its independence in the Haganah. You will hear HaTikvah by Cantor, Levinson, an IDF veteran, and Cantor Kraus, who was the first chief cantor of the IDF in 1948. The same HaTikvah we hear tonight is the same HaTikvah that Cantor Kraus sang in 1948 as he witnessed the rebirth of our nation. You will hear Ambassador Barkan, who has been representing Israel around the world for over 40 years. And finally, we will have the great honor of hearing Rabbi Lau, the Chief Rabbi of Israel. Again, step out of time and realize that all of us tonight are privy to hear the Chief Rabbi of Israel just 70 years after a 2,000-year exile. We are part of history this evening for the Ottawa Jewish community. The first edition of the Ottawa Jewish Bulletin, published after Israel's independence, was dated May 28, 1948. On the front cover, Chairman Harold Rubin wrote the following: 2,000 years our people have waited for a national homeland. 2,000 years of persecution, strife, and wandering have been our lot. Now we, the Jewish people, have at last obtained our objective, And though the result is much less than we hoped, bargained, and fought for, nevertheless, we can face the rest of the world with a newborn pride. I think that 70 years later, these words ring true, and we would be making our community leaders of yesteryear proud.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening, and a warm welcome to Chief Rabbi Lau. It is always wonderful to see our community coming together and celebrating our common love of Israel. I would first like to welcome the VIPs here tonight: David McGinty, MP, John Fraser, MPP, Jean Luce, City Councillor, Juliana Nathalie, Director, Inclusion and Religious Freedom, Global Affairs Canada, Troy Lulashnik, Director General, Middle East, Global Affairs Canada, His Excellency Nimrod Barkan, Israel's Ambassador to Canada, Shlamit Sufa, Israel's Deputy Head Mission to Canada, Andrea Friedman, CEO, Jewish Federation of Ottawa, Micah Garten, Director Development, Jewish Federation of Ottawa, Hartley Stern, Chair of the Federation Board. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Mizrahi Canada, including Rabbi Eliezer, Israel Dov Meir, Jeff Schumacher. They are for helping us host this evening tonight. I'd also like to thank Chabad of Centerpoint, the Soloway Jewish Community Center, the Jewish Federation of Ottawa, and all 3 Jewish day schools, Ottawa Torah Institute, Ottawa Jewish Community School, and Torah Day School. Bram and I would also like to express our appreciation to our committee, who made this all happen: Bonnie Engel, Susan Fickelman, Michael Goldstein, Sandra Gordon, Adam Moscow, and Aaron Smith. And we also thank Rabbi Bulka and Rabbi Sher for their guidance, as well Jason Toller and Alicia for organizing our evening tonight. And last but not least, to Bram, who worked tirelessly to ensure the success of this evening. I would like to now call on Rabbi Sher, who will be emceeing our evening.
Thank you so much. We're going to get to the bulk of the thank yous a little bit later, but and those will also be very, very quick. But just welcome to everyone, and of course, welcome to the Chief Rabbi of Israel for being here in Ottawa with us this evening. We're just going to get right to it. So at this point, I would like to introduce Cantor Moshe Kraus. He was the first Chief Cantor of the Israel Defense Forces, accompanied together with Cantor Pinchas Levinson, the Cantor Emeritus of Congregation Machzikei Hadas, and as well a IDF veteran. So if I could ask them to please come up, and if I could ask the crowd to please rise as we sing O Canada and HaTikvah.
O
actually, if everyone could please stay standing. Sorry about that. At this point, it's a great pleasure that I introduce Yardena Miller of the Ottawa Jewish Community School and Tehila Botwinick of Torah Day School as they together recite the prayer for the state of Israel. Come on up.
שבשמיים סור ישראל בגולה, הורג את מדינת ישראל. ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו, הגן עליה באברס חסדך, ובחוס אליה סוכת שלומך, ושלח אורך ועמיתך לרעשך, שריה ויועציה, וסכנם בעצה טובה מלפניך. חזק את ידי מקנה ארץ קודשנו והנחילם. אלוהינו ישוע, ועטרת ניצחון תעטרם. ונשאת שלום בארץ, פקד ושמחת עולם ליושביה. ואס אחינו כל בית ישראל, פקדנה בכל ארצות פזוריהם. וסוליכם מהרה קוממיוס, לציון עריך. ולירושלים משכן שמך, ככתוב בתורת משה עבדך. אם יהיה נדחכם בקצה השמיים, משם יקבצך אדוני אלוהיך, ומשם ייקחך. והביאך אדוני אלוהיך אל הארץ אשר ירשו אבותיך וירשת. והיטיבך והרבך מאבותיך, הופע בהדר גאון עוזך. על כל יושבי סבל ארצך, ויאמר כל אשר נשמה באפו. אדוני אלוהי ישראל מלך, ומלכותו בכל ממשלה. אמן סלע.
Now everyone can be seated. That was amazing, Yardena. Thank you so much for doing that. At this point, I would like to introduce Rabbi Eliezer, the National Director of Mizrahi Canada, to share introductory remarks.
It really is a momentous occasion to be standing in Canada's capital and to be sharing the celebration that's going to go on all year on the 70th anniversary of the State of Israel. First off, I would like to thank the committee chairs that really makes coming to Ottawa the easiest part of anything I ever do. And everything here is so well done, so well publicized, and so well organized. And I want to thank Sharon and Bram for really putting this together and creating such an incredible opportunity to learn together, to grow together, and to celebrate together as the Jewish community that understands that we live in a miraculous time. I just want to mention a couple of points about the fact that we're celebrating the 70th anniversary. The number 70 is actually quite significant within much of Jewish liturgy. For example, the number 70 in general represents a lifetime. David HaMelech in Tehillim says that a lifetime is 70 years. Now, if you think about that, to be able to live in a time where the state of Israel takes up a lifetime means that we're able to have children that are born and live a full life, only knowing the reality of having the state of Israel. And for all of us, and for all of our children, we have to appreciate the sacrifices that were made in order for that to happen, as well as the hand of God that brought us to this point, and our hopes and our dreams of thousands of years coming true. But the number 70 also represents something very significant. And that is the number 70 corresponds to the letter Ayin. The letter Ayin also means, anybody? The eyes. The letter Ayin means the eyes. And we say every Shabbat, Ayin be'ayin yiru b'shuv Hashem etzion. We will see eye to eye when God returns us to Zion. Now, to see eye to eye means that we're able to notice things in a different way. For example, every time I walk through the old city, and I see children playing, and I walk through the city, almost the old city, every single day, and it's very easy to get caught up in the day-to-day, and to be thinking about the political things that are happening, and the scandal, and the last thing you read in the newspaper. But as we walk through the old city of Jerusalem, to be able to pinch ourselves and see children playing within the streets, and to remember the words of Zechariah that one day there will be children playing in the streets, which was said during a time where that seemed like an impossibility, we pinch ourselves and realize the miraculous things that are happening. It's very easy when we live within history to be bogged down by the day-to-day. But the time when we stand on the 70th anniversary, and a time when we're going to hear from the Chief Rabbi of Israel in just a moment, is a time when we're not supposed to be bogged down, but rather to look from above and to try to grow from the miraculous time that we live in. To move forward, to look at the past from a macro point of view and see how in our micro individual lives we're able to impact the next 70 years. And so tonight, I hope we can all grow together as a community, as the Canadian Jewish community, as feeling this connection between our role and the role of the State of Israel and being part of that history, and not for one minute forgetting our place and the fact that we live in such miraculous times. It's such a pleasure to bring the Chief Rabbi of Israel throughout the Canadian Jewish communities. The Chief Rabbi represents and lives and works his entire life towards ensuring that the miracles of the State of Israel do not just stay as miracles, but rather they are built into a place that is a spiritual home and has religious development and religious growth for the entire Jewish community. And that is the center of what our role as the Jewish people living in their land is. So without further ado, I would like to welcome in a moment, after a few other speakers, to first and foremost, it says I'm supposed to introduce, but I'm just introducing the evening. I would like to introduce the first step is understanding that past, and then you'll hear the vision for that future from the Chief Rabbi of Israel.
At this point, it's such a great pleasure to introduce such a wonderful man, as well as being the Israel's ambassador to Canada, His Excellency Nimrod Barkan.
Almost celebrating 66 years, and nobody said that I'm a wonderful man. So thank you very much. You made my day. Rabbi Lau, friends, the story of the Lau brothers, the father and uncle of our guest tonight, is a riveting one. Particularly the story of how Naphtali Lau Lavi, that's the uncle of our visitor, was able to save the life of his younger brother during the Holocaust. And that story has been an inspiration to so many, including myself. I had the pleasure of knowing Naphtali Lau Lavi, an Israeli diplomat who served as a spokesman for then Foreign Minister Moshe during the peace talks with Egypt, and later appointed Israel's Consul General in New York. And Naftali's spokesman while in New York, Uri Sabir, was the number 3 here in Ottawa before. Some of you may still remember him. He's alive. Some of you may still remember him. I had the distinct pleasure of hosting Rabbi Lau Sr. and his wife in Paris, as I told Rabbi Lau, when they visited UNESCO. This was my first time meeting your parents, and I was deeply impressed with their kindness and wonderful character. It is a particular honor for me to be here at Machzikei Hadas, whose rabbis are our friends and the embassy's rabbis as well. I'd also like to thank the Mizrahi movement for bringing Rabbi Lau to Ottawa. As my mother worked on Rabbi Bolivar Street in Israel, in Tel Aviv, I have learned at an early age of the Mizrahi movement's important role in the history of the Zionist movement. This year, we celebrate, as you have heard, I'm not surprised, 70 years of Israeli independence. Israel's story is an amazing one. But that story is a result of the hard work of the Jewish community in Israel and in the diaspora and all denominations to build our strong and vibrant country. Had we been split and fighting amongst ourselves, we wouldn't have been able to survive, as we've seen in Jewish history before, particularly in the Second Temple period. For 70 years, Israel has strived to be a light unto the nations, as Ben-Gurion said, following the teaching of Prophet Jeremiah, and we have been largely successful. Being a light unto the nation necessitates being also a light unto ourselves. In order to achieve that, we must avoid internal strife and develop family love for all Jews. Some challenges, including modernity, do not make this pursuit easy for us, but it should not detract from the essentiality of the need to build a strong family in which all Jews feel welcome. The Canadian Jewish community is a wonderful example of that, a close-knit one, steadfast in its love for Israel. They all stand together, as has actually been said here before. You are all our brothers and sisters, and our objective is to maintain this strong connection for the long term. Knowing your family, Rabbi Lau, I'm sure that this is also your goal, and in this spirit of togetherness, I welcome you to Ottawa and Canada. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Your wife Shlomi told me you would appreciate my earlier compliment. So at this point, it's a great honor to actually introduce a member of our community, of the Machzikei Hadas community, a beloved member of the Ottawa Jewish community, a member of the Haganah during Israel's War of Independence, truly a founding mother of Israel. And I'd like to call up Sara Barrett.
Ladies and gentlemen, this year we are celebrating the 70th year of the State of Israel. And many of us believe that the State of Israel was created in 1948. This is a very superficial way of looking at things. It was created by many, many generations before that served and did everything that brought and developed the country. We used to say that it is Medina Baderech, a state in making. Let's see, before 1881, the number of Jews living in Israel, in the Jewish community, was 15,000. By the time the War of Independence started, we were 600,000. What happened in those years? Who contributed to create what we have? First, there was the first immigration, Aliyah Rishonah, that brought people to Zichron Yaakov. They learned how to work the land and create wine. Then came the second immigration, wave of immigration. That's when Ben-Gurion came. And they came from Russia and they had socialistic ideas, and that's how the kibbutz started. And the kibbutz was a tremendous element in creating the state, because they were able to go to faraway areas and work together as a group in a compound and defend themselves. Then came the First World War. The First World War, at that time, it was still the Turkish Empire. And all those that had Russian passports were sent out by the Turks, and they decided, there was Jabotinsky there was Ben-Gurion there was Strumpel there, and there was Ben-Zvi, and they decided to create the first Jewish Legion. And the first Jewish Legion came over, first they fought in Gallipoli, and afterwards in 1917, they came here to Canada, in Nova Scotia, and they trained here. And you know how many there were? 5,000. And this is the cursor of our army, the Israeli army. Then, after that, the British took over, and again, the immigration started. And it came in, and the Arabs were very upset because more people were coming in. And the first riots started 1929. And who started that and who helped us is Jabotinsky. He created the Haganah. He realized that we cannot rely on the British, we have to rely on ourselves. So here's the beginning of the Haganah. And all during the British Palestine, all the very important institutions were built. We had the educational department, we have Philharmonic Orchestra, we had the hospitals, we had everything that makes a state. And as a result, the Jewish community in Palestine at that time was a state within a state. It was almost ready to get its independence. And all these contributed. How did the 1948 generation who fought became? How did they became the way they are? Because we were trained for that. We were trained from very young age to go to exercise, for different, and go for excursion and all over the country, and learning to take care of ourselves, and not knowing that we are the only one that we can depend upon is ourselves. And now I would like to give you two stories of the examples of what happened when we joined the Haganah. I was in the year 16 when we joined the Haganah. Then they started looking to give us different jobs. One of my friends usually would send pamphlets all over the place, and it was against the British law. It was called Alahuma. And a very good friend of mine told me that she was doing it, and she was going through a street, and there is suddenly the bus, who not supposed to stop at a certain place, stops before her, and the driver gives her signs, come on in. And what it is, the driver saw that that there were British people following her, and God saved her by calling her into the bus. One of the other friends that we had that were a terrific person was David Shalom. David Shalom was taken at grade 11, which is 16, in order to train him to how to start communication stations. And he was disappeared. We never know where he went. And for 2 years, he worked and studied. He realized by working there that we are getting ready for a very, very severe war. So he came back home and told his father to take all his investments, all his money in the bank, and buy food. And the father listened to him, and when he came to one of the meetings, home, one room was filled with food, and his father says to him, if we won't have starvation here, you are going to eat the whole thing that you see here. And lo and behold, we had the siege of Jerusalem, and it was no water, no hungry for food, and all the food was distributed among the neighbors, and people had things to eat. Thanks to this David Lau. When the trouble started with the old city, he was sent there to build up a communication center, where there was the place in Machzikei. It's a hospital in the old city. And he was accepted there as a patient, and he transmitted all the things through this hospital. Well, the British got very, they had their dark cars, and they realized that the transmission is coming through Machzikei, and they decided to come in and start searching the place. Well, he heard a word about it, and he quickly took this, the transmission, the radio that he was working with, and hid it in a plant in his room, and made himself as if he's sleeping. The knocks came without an end, and when he opened the door, the British soldier says to him, "Why does it take you so long to answer the door?" And he says, "Well, I'm sick, and you see that I am sleeping, and it took me quite a while to get up and understand that you're knocking." And they started searching through all this room, and they almost came to the flower pot. At that point, they were accompanied by a lovely nurse, and she saw the danger coming in, and she said to the British soldier, "Look, don't you see how sick he is? You checked everything, enough, but let's move to other places." And that's the way she saved him, and he stayed there. But when the old city was surrendering, they knew that we needed him. So as a result, they put bandages from top to bottom all over him, and they took him out of the old city as a very, very sick man. And that's why we got him here in the new city. I myself, at the grade 11, was selected among 10 kids, among high school kids, to become wireless operators. And from the very beginning, straight after the 29th of November 1947, riots started, and I was sent to the Hebrew University and other places until the school asked that we should return to school because we were supposed to write the exams in the middle of March, and because in the middle of May the British were leaving. When I wrote the exam, after that I went to report to the communication office, and they sent me to Arnona. Arnona was it almost was the front. You had from one side the Arab Legion, and from the other side the Egyptian. And it went Ramat Rachel, Arnona, and Talpiot. Ramat Rachel was about 6 times taken by Egyptians, then taken by Arab people, and so on. So it was really the front itself. And there were all the civil servants and all the civil citizens were taken out, and only 2 old members stayed. Very important people, Shaya Benon and Kraus. They are taking care of Israel together with the young people. And every day they would go for a walk, and Benon wanted to know very much what's happening our backgrounds, and Professor Klausner looked upon us as direct descendants of the Maccabees. We were directly for me. Anyhow, things got a little bit rougher, and Mrs. Adnan and the next door neighbor gave me as a present a kettle of hot water, which they were which were made on a bonfire in their garden. And you'd be surprised how much one kettle of water can do for a person that hasn't got any water. It was really a very big present, and I always remembered it as one of the best presents that I ever got. But one day, we were free and we decided we have some entertainment, and we decided to go to one of the houses and borrow a record player that you can work with the hand. And we brought it and we played the Fifth Symphony, you know, and the long playing records. And the Fifth Symphony blended with the shooting from all over. And, you know, it was part of the music. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, one of the people responsible for that area came and saw us, and he got white. He said what had happened is, at the first, where the two people were watching against it, there was a tremendous firing. Then one of the boys were killed, and the other boy took his machine gun and brought it down to the middle. So we were in no man's land. And he said, I have enough problems, I don't want girls here, out of here. And he sent us to Jerusalem. And in Jerusalem, I was put to be part of the office where we registered students from the yeshivot. There was an agreement with the yeshivot that they will come and dig trenches. So I was there registering them and finding where we can send them and so on. And one day, I was coming back home, and the cannons were all over the place, explosions there, and I'm the only one in the street, and there is an old man walking. And I saw him traveling, and I said to him, would you like to hold my hand, and I will take you to your home? And he said, yes. And as we were walking, I said to him, now look, man, I am a teenager. I have a job to do. But you have your own home. Why do you go out in such a day? And he says to me, you know, Tochter, I will never forget the word. He says, you have your job, I have my job. Today is Lag BaOmer, and it was my job to go to the synagogue, to pray for the fallen soldiers of Barkan 22,000 years ago, and lit a candle in their name. And suddenly it became unbelievable. All the years squeezed into one thing, a circle called history. And as I speak to you today, it's really, the circle gets wider, because 70 years ago, now 70 years, the old man is probably passed away. Now I'm an old woman, and I'm telling it to you. And this story, probably one of you will remember and tell it to your children. And this story will become a history of our people, because history is what we are. This is what gives us strength. And I will never forget, 50 years ago, something like that, I was at luncheon, and the Saudi ambassador was there. And it was very pleasant. We sat around the table, and everything was fine. And then he turns to me, we were just about to leave, and he says, Sara, remember, we are few, but we are many. Just remember that. And automatically, my answer was, we survived up till now. I'm not worried, because we'll survive forever. So thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. And at this point, it's our great honor, speaking on behalf of myself and the entire community, to introduce the Chief Rabbi of Israel, Rabbi David Lau, Rabbi David Lau.
Thank you, Rabbi Eliezer. On behalf of Rabbi Bulka, Mr. Ambassador and your staff, members of this community, all the people, I want to tell you, Mrs. Sara, that after your stories, it's very hard to speak. It's unfair. And I'm sorry. Rabbi Eliezer asked me, and he's the hosted here. So really, I want to thank you very much about your words. And I want to thank the friends of this community, of our land of Israel, friends from here, from the parliament, and I'm very happy to see you with us. I want to share with you a real story. I heard about it, I read it, and this is a real story that I want to take you not exactly to the time that spoke Mrs. Sara. I want to speak about 1912 in Jerusalem. It was a small synagogue in the middle of Jerusalem, and every Friday afternoon before Shabbat, sat in the synagogue two people. One was an old rabbi, one was a young rabbi. The old rabbi was Rav Chaim Berlin. He was the chief rabbi of Moscow, and he left there to make Aliyah, to come to Jerusalem and to be chief rabbi of Jerusalem. The second person was Rav Aryeh Levin. After a few years, all the people in Jerusalem, and not only in Jerusalem, know about righteous men, something special that help people, even they are in the jail or in the hospital. Rav Aryeh Levin. He was a young rabbi, and he sat near Rav Chaim Berlin to say together every Friday afternoon before Shabbat, to say Song of the Songs from the Bible. This is a very old customer. I'm not sure that here in Machzikei Hadas also, but very old customer to say together. And when they began to say Song of the Songs, in the end of the first part, they arrived to two words, Einaich Yonim. Einaich Yonim, it means that the God gave compliment to Jewish nation that our eyes, you spoke about Ilan about the eyes, our eyes are like the birds, the dove. Einaich Yonim. And when they arrived to those two words, Rabbi Chaim Berlin, who was chief rabbi of Moscow, who is the Chief Rabbi of Jerusalem, he began to cry with tears. Arav Levin sat and was quiet, and after a few seconds, they continue. Friday after, 1 week after, they arrived to those two words, Einayich Yonim, your eyes like birds, like doves. And Rabbi Eliezer started crying again. And all the people around, and Rabbi Levin with them, they were quiet, and after a few seconds or minutes, they continue. In the second Friday, when he cried, stopped Rabbi Levin and said, Arav Berlin, can you explain me what do you find in those two words that because of that you are crying so much with tears? Friday after Friday after Friday. What is something amazing into the words? And he said, I can tell you. I was the chief rabbi of Moscow before for 20 years. It was days of the Tsar that hate Jewish people, that hate Jewish behavior. Maybe he hated all the Jewish communities. So because of that, I know that I made a lot of sins. I teach Torah. I teach Judaism. I made a lot of things that maybe he could think that it's against his government, because I'm a Jew and he is a Tsar. And I have another sin. I'm a mohel. I make circumcision. And because of that, maybe I took blood for someone who can be a soldier, an officer. So I take blood. But I continue my way. And I hope that I can do it more and more till the time that the police come to me. One day I heard a knock on the door. I opened the door and I saw very big officer, according to his rank. Maybe he's very big. And he asked me, are you Chaim Berlin? I said yes. And are you a rabbi? Yes, this is the truth. It's not secret. And you made circumcision. Brit Milah. Yes. And do you have a knife for this? I didn't understand, but I said yes. Okay, tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, I'll come to take you with me. And please remember to take the knife with you and all the things that you need. 8 o'clock exactly. Good night. And he went. I understood that maybe they want to show how nice their judgment, and maybe they want to take me and to prove that I made a lot of wrong things, so because of that he need a knife. I organized my bag with chumash, with talit and tefillin, as with a knife also. I sat with my children, with my wife. We spoke about the future. I told them the future without me, I don't know, I didn't know how many times I'll be there and if I'll come back. So, 8 o'clock in the morning, I heard a knock. I took my bag, I said goodbye to my family, and I went. He took me. He took me to his place. He took me, and I sat in this, no, it's not a car, not the same, and I look to see my house, but we ran off from my house. He took me, I saw the big jail, but we didn't stop there. We continued to go. He took me to the forest. I was afraid. Maybe he want to kill me, and no one know where can find my body to bury me. But I saw a big house after that. We stopped there without say any word. He showed me with his finger, and I went after him. We went into, he opened a room, a door room, and I saw there a young woman with a young baby on her hands, and he told me, today he is 8 days old. Please do what you know and you need to do. Circumcision? A big officer? I didn't understand. I was shocked. But, okay. I smiled. And I was a sandak. I was a mohel. I was a rabbi. I said the blessing. And I was very happy. And someone took me from this place and took me back to my house. My wife was shocked to see me. My children jumped on me. I went to a trip. They didn't know exactly which trip. Night after, I heard a knock on the door. And I saw the officer there. Hello, Rabbi. I came to pay for your job. Thank you very much. I don't want your money because I want to know what was it? Can you explain me? What did you do? What is your question? I don't understand, he said. And I asked that, are you Jew? And he said, no. Oh, I was shocked. But your wife is a Jew. And he said, no. So if you and your wife are not Jews, why do you want to make a circumcision? Why do you need to brit milah? And he said, oh, my parents and the parents of my wife are Jews. So you are a Jew. No, I'm not. And my wife also. And now, after the brit milah, after circumcision, I don't care. And now I ask him, so tell me, why do you want me to make circumcision to your son if you and your wife are not Jew? Maybe your son are a Jew? I asked him with a smile. He said, no, I'll do the best that can I do that you won't be a Jew. Please explain it to me. I sacrificed my life to Tsar. I love Tsar. I admire him. I like him, and my wife also. And I educate my child to sacrifice his life to Tsar. I hope that his degree in the army will be high level that he can do to give his life to Tsar. Because we are Russian. The Russia is our mother, the Tsar is our father, and I love him. But, you know, if any time my child wants to know from where he came, I thought that maybe to give on his body a sign that he will know that he'll come from my parents and parents of my wife from Jewish nation. So I pray, I try that he will be the son and grandson of the Tsar. But maybe I want to be sure that he'll know from where he came. Said Rav Chaim Berlin to the young rabbi in this day on Friday. So Chazal, the sages, taught us that if we found a small bird, a small dove on the land, and we have 2 dovecotes for the dove, we don't know if this dove came from one or from the other. Said our sages in the Talmud that even that one of the dovecotes is very close to the place that you find found the bird, but you are going according to the place that a lot of doves there. In Hebrew you can say it, rov vekarov halach achar harov. You are going about the place that a lot of birds there. But you need one condition. You need to be sure that the bird, the dove, has a contact between his place to the dovecote, to his home. Because our sages taught us that never birds went out from her house without being in touch with her eyes to her house, to her home, to her dovecote. Do you understand, said Rav Berlin to Rav Levin? Do you understand? This officer took himself far away from Judaism. He and his wife took themselves out from our nation. But even he tried to keep contact between his son to his roofs, to his nation, to his family. And he took his son to make him in his eyes sins. But like the Shlomo, the King Solomon said in Song of the Songs says that our eyes, the Jewish nation, are like a bird's, like a dove's. We keep contact with our eyes to our family, our nation. I'm sorry, I don't have a happy end. I don't know where is the son or grandson of this officer, of this child. I don't have details about it. But I know that it was 1912. 5 years after, all the Russian people, it's not a Tsar. Without Krinsky, without Bolshevikim, only communism, Lenin, Marx, Marx now, but Trotsky, Stalin, and today, another way. Maybe a new Tsar, but another way. So, a new Tsar, but friend of Jewish nation. But now I don't know exactly where is his grandson. But I know, and I'm sure, that because of the God promised us, Netzach Israel lo yeshaker. The Jewish nation who became from Abraham and Sara, Yitzhak and Rivka, Yaakov and Rachel and Leah, they'll be the nation that continues the rules of the values of our nation, of our forefathers, foremothers. So today, 70 years after, we have in our generation the privilege that the baby who made circumcision in those days, the son of the officer, they didn't have. They hadn't the privilege to be a Jewish country, a home of all the Jews in the world. We have the privilege. We have the privilege, not only the country of Jews, the Jewish country. And because of that, I very appreciate your gift, Sefer Torah, to our country, to small camps of soldiers in Israel. I felt a lot of exciting when I heard here that we sang together. I'm sorry I didn't know the words of O Canada, but I know, and I was very exciting to hear here HaTikvah. You sang here, I sang with you, and we have a very big hope to see all the world with peace, with brotherhood, with friendship, to be everyone keep his roofs, and everyone keep his values, and every nation be very proud of his roofs and very proud to be friend with all the nation. And you give me the opportunity tonight to be with you and to share with you this idea. I want to thank you and to bless all of you. Good evening. ואומר, היום 34 יום, שהם 4 שבועות ו6 ימים לעומר.
Can you hear through the mic? All right. So firstly, Father Rabbi Roshi, thank you very much for the wonderful story, for the wonderful message. I hope you don't mind if I share with you a little bit of a joke. When you were speaking about it, it reminded me of the famous story of a Jewish fellow who was walking in Russia and was stopped by a policeman, and he asked him, "Who's your father?" He says, "My father's the Sara." And he said, "Who is your mother?" "My mother is Russian." "What would you like to be?" He said, "I'd like to be an orphan." But I could see when I was telling it to you, it really hurt me. So, we know, historically, you are the youngest person ever to be elected Chief Rabbi in Eretz Israel.
I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Even it's written in the Wikipedia,
Yeah.
but it's not true.
Is that true?
No. A lot of details you can fix in Wikipedia. But Rabbi Isaac Levi Herzog was younger than me. And if I succeed to go in his steps, it will be for me very big success.
Okay.
Rabbi Herzog.
So I'm happy, yeah, a great man. So I'm happy that you corrected that, but it's also true that when you become, even though, no matter how young you are, you age very quickly. So tell us a little bit about what's the life of a Chief Rabbi of Israel. What does your normal day look like?
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have a normal day. This is the truth. Maybe one of my normal day is Tuesday, because every Tuesday I'm sitting in the Supreme High Court in Yerushalayim, from the morning till the middle of night, to help people. To help people, this is very important day for me, and because of that, I left Israel on Tuesday night, and I leave Canada to go to be in Israel on the Monday morning, to be in Israel 6 o'clock in the morning, on Tuesday, to be in 9 o'clock in my Supreme High Court, to help people. This is a place that I can help people to find solutions for the problem. Maybe the problem between husband and wife, maybe the problem between parents to children. A lot of problems. For example, I can tell you that last Tuesday, the last case that we spoke about was between parents, between father and mother, that the father didn't see his children more than 10 years. And I'm speaking about children that ages are 13, 12, and 12 twins. 3 children that the father didn't see them for 10 years. And they knew that they have someone that is their father. But I thought that the problem is that he is not very clever, and his wife, is a divorced wife, got married again, and for her, father is her second husband. This is a problem. That for her, it's enough, but it's not enough. And we try to explain them, to explain him what is his mistakes, and to explain her what is her mistakes, and what we'll see if they'll try to do what we ask them. For 2 months, I'll see them again.
What you're telling us is, I'm sure, a big surprise to everyone here, because they think the chief rabbi is the one who meets the Pope, who does all sorts of things, but that you should actually spend an entire day every week just bringing shalom, bringing bringing peace to communities on an individual basis, to the extent that you would make your schedule around it so that you could be there. That tells everyone a lot about who you are. And it's,
Thank you, but I can tell you that in my bag I have the cases for the next Tuesday. This is a day to help people. I feel that this is a day to help people to save them from themselves. This is from time to time. It is very hard day, very important day. So this is normal day because that I can tell you before, but for example, on Sunday I went to the north of Israel. I was in a school in Ofakim, religious and non-religious. I went to school in Be'er Sheva, religious and non-religious. I was in the jail in Be'er Sheva to visit the prisoners people, to speak with them, to encourage them, to educate themselves, to take themselves, their life with their hands. I can tell you that Sunday it was a day of 9 speeches with in another communities or places. This is Sunday. Monday is a day in my office. I was in my office. A lot of questions about kashrut, about a lot of things that we need to do. This is my week. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and if you want, I can show you the schedule here in Canada. It's very busy, but very nice, because like I'm going during our country to meet and to speak with people, now I'm here to meet and to speak with people in Canada.
We know that you had a long day today. You started off in Montreal, came over here, and we're also running a little bit late, so I don't want...
Now it's 4:30 in the night, yes.
And I'll soon have to learn with my grandson over the phone from Rabbi Israel. But there are, and I hope that you're able to, there are a number of questions. People were aware that we were going to be talking, and so I will not be able to ask you all of the questions that were submitted, but I know that there are some of those things that are really on a lot of people's minds. One of them is the whole issue of conversion. To put it in mild terms, there are a lot of people here who are worried that, and we have people here who are children of converts. We have very significant converts who have made major contributions to the community in so many ways. And they're worried, as let's say, if their children go on Aliyah, you know, will the Rabbanut allow them to get married, or will they say, you're not Jewish? And even if there's ways to go around it by doing another Giyur there, but the shock of being told, hold it, you're not Jewish according to us. How do you handle that situation?
You know, I can tell you one sentence and to smile because of that. Why? Because in Israel we have two chief rabbis. One is responsible about kashrut, about a lot of things, and the other is responsible about conversion. And till now, I'm not responsible about this. I could tell you, but I want to tell you what I think about, to share with you my opinion. But this is not only my opinion. This is opinion, if we spoke about the great Rabbi of Herzog, the grandfather of a member of Knesset, that named is the same, Yitzhak Herzog. And he wrote rules of conversion. And the Chief Rabbinate, during all the 70 years, has exactly the same rules of Rabbi Yitzhak Herzog and Rav Ben Zion Meir Chai Uziel till today. So, if I want to be a member of kibbutz, for example, I need to do things and to be sure that this is that I'm exactly in the condition that they ask me, and after that they can decide, can take decision that I'm member of the kibbutz. The Jewish nation is not less the kibbutz. It's important. To be a member of Jewish nation is very important. And we have rules that it's not only from Rabbi Herzog and before him Rav Kook. This is the rules that you can find exactly the same in Rabbi Yosef Karo in Shulchan Aruch and Rabbi Moshe Iserlich in Shulchan Aruch. This is exactly the same rules. We don't change. We keep the way, and we believe that if, for example, tomorrow morning, you can see here in this shul, in this synagogue, Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe will come. I'm sure that his talis and his tefillin are exactly to my talit and my tefillin. And this is a way to keep our nation. From the times that you remember the big Greeks, the big Romans, the big, very big countries that you can't find like them today. The Greeks today are another. And the Italy today are not the Romans. But the Jewish people are exactly the same. Of course, we need to see the people and to be sure that we can help them. But if you want advice, please be sure that if you do something, do it according to the old rules of the Jewish nation. And because of that, you can find rabbis in Toronto, in Montreal, or Rabbi Bulka and Rabbi Shir in Ottawa, and Rabbi Fegelstock in Vancouver, and a lot of rabbis. You can find the way to be sure that everything is okay. You can be happy because you do what you need to do.
So we could spend on this an entire night, but in the interest of time, I want to jump to another issue that's been in the press. And you know, whatever happens in Eretz Yisrael, people here are very careful, Israel watchers. One of the things that occupied a lot of attention recently was the situation at the Kotel, at the wall.
It's a very simple situation. It's not religious question. It's not religious question. Why? When I'm going to a mosque, I took my shoes out. Why? Because this is a custom of this place. This is a custom of this place. When you come to Kotel, the real women Kotel, you can find them every day, snow and hot, winter and spring and summer and autumn, and you can find them in the middle of the night, in the middle of the day. Every time you can find women and men in Kotel. And once a month came a group without polite, with a microphone, with a guitar, or with another equipment. And this is not polite to disturb someone. The Kotel is open to all people in the world, not only to Jews. My last time in Kotel, I saw someone with a black screen, and I saw that he held a siddur, but outside. And I asked him, "Can I help you, please?" He stood near me. And he told me, "No thanks, I'm okay." And we discussed. He was a priest from Niger. And he came to pray there. And he prayed, I don't know what, to who he thought about, what were his words, I don't know. And I don't care. And I asked him, "So why do you take this book, the Siddur?" And he told me, "Because everyone here, I see that he held a Siddur, so I think this is this custom of this place, so I took a Siddur also." I explained him, of course, what it means, this book, but he didn't disturb me. I didn't disturb him, I hope. I tried to help him. And no one disturbed, no one to come. But please, remember polite, to don't disturb someone, and come and pray. Why not? This is a place of prayer for all Jews, for a lot of people, non-Jews. So why disturb them? Why not give respect to the custom of this place every day, every hour, every minute? This is the question that you need to explain to the press, that they make very big story and they need to ask someone, why do you disturb to others?
I'm very conscious of the time, and I'm also conscious of the fact that it's late for you also. Another one of the questions that came up was the issue of the workers, migrants who are in Eretz Israel now, the issue of what's going to happen to them has been a matter of great controversy. The Prime Minister made a pronouncement and backtracked on it. Does the Chief Rabbinate have a role in this? And what is your opinion about the situation? Huh?
I wanted to be sure that I understand his question. I want to tell you a few words. I don't know how can I succeed to be a citizen of Canada. I don't know, and I'm sorry. I don't care. I want to continue to be a citizen of Israel and only of Israel. Even my father was born in Poland, and they sent me letters that I can be a citizen of Poland, passport, European passport. I'm sorry, but I want to be an Israeli. I'm very happy to be here and to see you, and I'll be happy to see you visit in Israel. Thank you. A lot of people came from Africa. Not because they need to save their life, They are not survivors. I'm sorry, is it not like Holocaust? Of course not. If in the days of Holocaust, my grandparents could find place in the world, they'll be happy. But the German didn't allow them to leave the camp and the city in Poland. This is not this situation. This is another situation. The people that came to find work, and this time they disturbed to a lot of people in south of Tel Aviv. And this is the question that we need to find solution. And I very appreciate our Prime Minister and our government to help them to find solution, not to throw them out without anything. Our government gave a lot of money for all someone that agreed to go out from Israel, because to be citizen is the conditions. And because of that, the Prime Minister and all the government try to do a lot. They found one country and another and another. They give money, and I want to tell you, this is way not only because of the people from the Africa. Last winter, 1,600 people left Israel, from Israel to their home in Russia. There are people that came and they went back. Israel gave them money to be there. So it's not a question of pity. This is question of the organization of every country with her condition to be citizen. And because of that, I very appreciate the Prime Minister, and I hope that we can help the people when they are in Israel till the time that they will leave, and to help people of the citizens of Tel Aviv, to help them because they are citizens, that we need to help them to give them life.
I'm going to take the privilege of not bothering you much longer because of the time and just ask you one more question.
Every question you said it, okay.
Okay. One more question, which has to do a lot with the relationship of the Chief Rabbi of Israel with the general community, not only in Israel, but in the entire world. 70 is a nice birthday, and somebody has mentioned that we're now living when people who are younger than 70 don't know of a world without Israel. That is good, but it also can be a challenge. So what would you like to do, and what do you think can be done for the people, let's say, for whom Israel doesn't mean as much as we would like it to mean? How do you reach them to appreciate Israel the way they do not at this present time?
You can see that we celebrated 70 years old of our country, but the day before it was event one day that we remind ourselves that we had more than 23 people, soldiers, that gave their life, sacrificed their life for the country. We have a list of more than 3,600 people, young and old, men and women, that the terrorists killed them when they wanted to go to school, to job. Only they wanted to live, that's all, to be in life. So we need to spend a lot of money of security, a lot of money to help the families that lost their father or son or husband or wife. We need to spend a lot of money. And we lost a lot of young people that can help us to grow up, to be better. But even though we are a very, very nice country, even though we are a country that you can see people help each other, you can see people go in Israel with smile and with proud of their country. Of course they say that there is bad, but they're proud. So you can see that this is very, very nice country. Even we had a lot of problems, a lot of reasons to be a poor country. If our neighbors in our neighborhood try to pay attention and put money of building, of helping people, of education, like we do it, all over the Middle East could show like the best places in the world. But even our hard neighbor, we are very, very nice country. And I thank God that helped us, that this is the situation. I thank people in Israel that they do it. I thank people out of Israel that our friends that bring us brotherhood and friendly. And I hope that one day our neighbors will understand that this is for them to improve their life, to improve their nation, and to remember that we are going from the past to the future, and in your hand it is to take decision to improve the future and to see how nice can be our life.
Thank you very, very much. A small matana, a maskoret from your visit here. It doesn't make you a Canadian citizen, but it's very amachaya. Look at that.
I'm sorry, I try to smile more than in the picture. But thank you very much.
Yes, we'll always remember your visit to Ottawa, and we will too. Thank you very much.
So now you'll never forget what you look like. Thank you so much. I just want to share a short reflection reflection on this evening. This evening has been quite memorable. There's a quote I want to read. So this evening has been quite memorable. I think it's been memorable, number one, because we've had real heroes speaking with us today. Heroes that have founded the state of Israel, our precious state of Israel, of which we are celebrating its 70th birthday this month during this season. And it's also obviously a very memorable occasion because we have the Chief Rabbi of Israel here together with us tonight. But I want to point out why I think that this is one of those evenings that is more than just memorable, but in fact actually quite inspiring. And I think in order to do so, I just want to share with you, this is going to be quick, I just want to share with you a short little snippet from an interview that an Israeli newspaper did with the Chief Rabbi. They asked the Chief Rabbi, you spoke of a lack of funds. What would you do to create unity among the Jewish people and get the rabbinate, the respect of the people, if you had all of the money you could ask for? And the Chief Rabbi answered basically that they would have this very interactive website. They'd really fix up the rabbinate's website and make Jewish knowledge and every level of Jewish knowledge accessible to all. But then he went on to say, a more active and interactive site, a website in which the rabbinate can listen and hear what people say. And I thought that those words were very special. A website in which the rabbinate can listen and hear what people say. And the Chief Rabbi went on to say that for Israelis, that's not so simple, because Israelis, it's not their nature to be quiet, to pay attention, to listen, to hear, to do anything at all along those lines. In fact, it's a very common scene to see two Israelis arguing and getting even more stubborn and more passionate about their argument, each really standing their ground on their side, really proud and confident, and then about 2 or 3 minutes later, after you think that things are about to explode, they sit down and have coffee together in the nearest coffee shop. And so in other words, Israelis generally wouldn't be best labeled as listeners, but perhaps better as talkers, in every wonderful sense of the word as well. But then we think about Canadians, and we may be on the other side of that spectrum, right? Perhaps less talkers and better described as listeners. Perhaps we don't say things because we don't want to offend people. Perhaps we don't say things because, oh, what happens if I say it wrong? Perhaps that's a bit more of a Canadian mentality. So we have your talkers and you have your listeners. And what I think is so special, and I really can only imagine a world like this, is a perfect fusion of the talking and the listening. A world where one can be proud and confident and passionate about those fundamentals, those beliefs that they hold so dear, yet at the exact same time being just as passionate about understanding, not agreeing, but about understanding the other, and so passionate about the respect for the other, but again, not agreement necessarily. And that type of world, that's the type of world that I think we should all envision and aspire to. The type of world that I would want my children to inhabit, and the type of world where true unity can be cultivated. Because unity doesn't come about by people getting together and kind of ignoring any of the controversial topics. That's not unity. That's just coming together and ignoring things. Real unity comes together when everyone can speak their mind in a respectful tone, but at the exact same time and with the exact same passion, try to understand where the other is coming from. And that's what unity is about. And that's the perfect fusion between the talkers and the listeners. And I think that that's exactly what we experienced tonight. Tonight we had the Chief Rabbi in our midst. The Chief Rabbi, besides for being a pretty high-ranking rabbi in this global community, the Chief Rabbi as well is a leader on the world stage, is a world leader. And the Chief Rabbi could have came to Ottawa, could have came to Canada, and gone on a talking tour, just like most of our politicians today, most of our world leaders today would have. But that's not what the Chief Rabbi did. The Chief Rabbi decided, I'm here not just to speak, but I'm here to listen. And therefore the Chief Rabbi sincerely and genuinely, this is what he wanted. This was the most important part of the evening for him, this discussion, so he could listen. And I think that that's what makes this into such an exciting evening. We had that unbelievable fusion of the listening and the talking that makes for an inspiration that we can all carry with us, something that every community could aspire to, and if only we internalize, the world would be such a better, more united, and I think a lot more understanding place. So with that, I just want to conclude with some words for the Chief Rabbi. I'll say them in Hebrew. כבוד הרב הראשי, תודה על דבריך, ואולי יותר חשוב תודה על דיבך הרחב שממש מבקר, שממש מקשיב אלינו. תודה רבה. Again, I just wanted to thank the Chief Rabbi, the Honorable Chief Rabbi. Thank you so much for speaking with us tonight. But I think even more important, and perhaps even more important, thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful night. I'd just like to, the Chief Rabbi now, I think it's about 5 in the morning for him, so he's going to have to be leaving. But everyone is please invited to a dessert reception in the back, in the social hall, and so generously, again, I'd like to thank Creative Kosher for their generosity in this dessert reception.